The moment it happened, no one on the ground fully understood what they were witnessing. There was no explosion announcing it, no dramatic declaration, no single battlefield where it could be pointed to and named. Yet, from that day forward, wars would never be fought the same way again. Somewhere above the clouds, far beyond the reach of artillery, radar, or even human eyesight, the sky itself had changed sides. It no longer belonged to nature or chance or even courage. It belonged to a system, an American system, so advanced, so coordinated, and so precise that entire nations would later realize they had already lost before the first shot was fired. This was the day America turned the sky into a weapon. For centuries, armies had fought on land and sea, believing the air was merely a passageway, a space to be crossed rather than controlled. Even when aircraft entered warfare, they were treated as extensions of ground combat, tools for reconnaissance, bombing, or dogfighting, limited by visibility, fuel, and human endurance. But the United States saw something different. American planners did not look at the sky and see distance. They saw structure, they saw layers, they saw data, and most importantly, they saw an opportunity to build a form of dominance so complete that enemies would never again feel safe, even in their own territory, even in total silence. What made this transformation so unsettling to America's rivals was not raw firepower alone, it was integration. Radar stations stretched across continents and oceans, feeding information into command centers that never slept. Aircraft were no longer isolated machines piloted by individuals making split-second decisions based on instinct. They became nodes in a vast network connected to satellites, intelligence analysts, weather systems, and logistics chains that could track movement, predict behavior, and respond faster than any human commander ever could. The sky was no longer empty space, it was a living, thinking battlefield, and the United States owned it. Enemy pilots would later describe the feeling with a mixture of disbelief and quiet fear. They could take off under clear skies, confident in their training and machines, only to realize minutes later that they had already been detected, tracked, identified, and classified. They were visible before they were even aware they were being watched. American aircraft did not need to announce their presence. Often they were never seen at all. Strikes came from beyond visual range, guided by data rather than sight, executed with precision that felt less like combat and more like inevitability. This dominance did not come from a single invention, but from a philosophy. While other nations focused on building faster jets or larger bombs, the United States focused on building systems. Air power was fused with intelligence, intelligence was fused with technology, technology was fused with logistics. Every element reinforced the others. An American aircraft in the sky was never alone. It was supported by refueling tankers extending its reach indefinitely, by airborne command centers coordinating entire battles from the air, by satellites mapping the battlefield in real time, and by supply chains capable of sustaining operations across the planet without pause. The result was a form of control that defied traditional warfare. Enemies could hide their forces, disperse their units, turn off their radios, and wait in silence, but it no longer mattered. Movement itself became a liability. Heat signatures, electronic emissions, patterns of behavior, and even the absence of activity were all data points. The sky watched everything, and it remembered. What shocked adversaries most was not just that America could strike anywhere, but that it could choose not to. The power to destroy was matched by the power to observe, to wait, and to decide. Entire enemy formations were left untouched, not because they were unknown, but because they were irrelevant. Targets were prioritized not by emotion or symbolism, but by their role within a system. Remove the right node, and the entire structure collapsed. Communications failed, coordination vanished, morale followed soon after. Soldiers on the ground would later describe the crushing realization that the war was no longer happening where they were standing. It was happening above them, far beyond their reach. This is where the psychological impact became decisive. When the sky itself feels hostile, there is no front line, there is no safe rear, there is no moment of rest. American air dominance created a constant, invisible pressure that wore down resistance without needing constant bombardment. Commanders hesitated, decisions were delayed, supplies piled up unused because movement invited detection. The enemy began to fight the sky instead of fighting the United States, and the sky never missed. Behind this dominance was an industrial and intellectual machine unlike anything the world had seen. American engineers, scientists, and strategists worked not in isolation, but in collaboration, turning theoretical concepts into operational reality at breathtaking speed. Stealth technology reduced aircraft to whispers on radar screens. Precision-guided munitions transformed single aircraft into tools of surgical accuracy. Data links allowed pilots to see not just what was in front of them, but what their entire force could see collectively. The battlefield became transparent to one side and opaque to the other. Even America's allies were often stunned by the scale of this capability. Joint exercises revealed a level of coordination that bordered on the unreal. Aircraft arrived exactly when needed, refueled mid-air without delay, struck targets with minimal collateral damage, and disappeared before a response could be organized. It was not chaos, it was choreography, and it was unmistakably American. For America's enemies, the lesson was brutal and clear. You could build an army, you could train soldiers, you could fortify cities. None of it mattered if you could not challenge the sky. And challenging the sky meant challenging an ecosystem of technology, industry, intelligence, and organization that no single nation could replicate overnight. By the time they realized it, it was already too late. The sky had become more than a battlefield. It had become a message, a silent declaration that war was no longer about who could endure the most pain, but who could build the most complete system. And in that domain, the United States stood alone. Not because it sought domination for its own sake, but because it understood something fundamental before anyone else did. That the future of power would belong to those who fought hardest, not to those who saw the battlefield from above and shaped it before anyone else even knew it existed. This was not victory achieved through spectacle, it was dominance achieved through design, a form of power so overwhelming that it rarely needed to be displayed, and so advanced that by the time the world understood it, the balance had already shifted permanently. The day America turned the sky into a weapon was not marked on a calendar. It was marked in doctrine, in technology, and in the quiet realization shared by America's rivals that from that moment on, the air above them was no longer neutral. It was American.